Good morning, folks. This is Mr. Dan coming to you from the Landscape Design Classroom, and today we're going to talk about understanding soil erosion and degradation. So, what are we talking about here? What causes valuable topsoil to be lost or destroyed, and why is it so important that those losses are slowed or stopped? So, if we take a look here on the picture on the right, we see some erosion happening along a bank along the Connecticut River. So, we're going to get into this a little bit. So, degradation. The value of soil for producing crops can be reduced in two ways: topsoil loss by erosion and reduction in topsoil productivity due to poor management. Both of those losses are called degradation. So two types of erosion. Erosion is the wearing away of the land's surface by water, wind, ice, or other geological agents. Two types here are geological, also called natural erosion, and man-made erosion. So, geological erosion helps shape the natural landscape, formed gullies, canyons, and valleys. And some examples of this would be waves pounding on shorelines to make cliffs, and glaciers forming rivers and lakes, leveling mountains, and filling in valleys. So, man-made erosion, this is erosion caused by human activities disrupting the natural environment and exposing soil to wind and water movement. Some examples of this could be soil washing off tilled slopes or cultivated fields, or soil washing or blowing away due to overgrazing. So we as humans, we need to do what we have to do to get crops going, put new buildings up. So over time, that's going to cause erosion in a lot of different areas. So some farming practices leading to man-made erosion: plowing and planting on soil that is too low in nutrients to support a cultivated crop, maintaining large plowed fields in areas subject to wind erosion, and plowing soil in areas with too little rainfall to support a crop. Typically when that happens, you need to have an irrigation system in, but we do need to make sure that we are switching our crops just to ensure that we're getting nutrients back into the ground. So more farming practices that lead to man-made erosion: exposing soil on slopes or tilling up and down slopes. If you're working on a slope, you're always going to have that soil coming down. Leaving soil uncovered by a crop or a crop residue so rain breaks it loose and washes it away. So right after your crop's taken out for the year or mowed down, it's probably the easiest time for erosion to happen. So you're going to have water coming down, moving that soil down the hill, and kind of just wasting it away. And then overgrazing. So if you have cows, any sort of livestock going over top of those areas a lot, you're going to have a fair amount of man-made erosion. So clear cutting and other practices removing natural vegetation from forest land. If you're cutting on a large forest, especially on a hillside, the erosion is going to happen at a more advanced rate. Excessive tillage, which buries residue and breaks down soil structure. So you'll start seeing like different areas of the soil, like the topsoil layer, the subsoil layer, even some of those clay layers kind of being mixed together. And eventually you're just going to see like a really bad layer of clay or rock. So, kinds of erosion: splash erosion. Soil is left exposed and raindrops shatter aggregates at the surface, loosening soil particles. Wind erosion, which is third of U.S. soil loss, mostly in the Great Plains states. Highest losses when soil is kept bare by clean till summer fallow. Sheet erosion, water moving in tiny streams to be too small to be noticed, but over time you will see it, just like in this picture on the right, of where those streams were forming. So real erosion often occurs on slopes where water collects in channels, picking up energy as it moves down the hill. And typically whenever you have that stuff coming down, it's going to be moving straight down that hill to the down to the bottom. So we have ephemeral gullies, which are large rills but still small enough for tillage equipment to cross. Gully erosion cannot be crossed by equipment. Start at the bottom of the slope or hill and gradually become larger, moving up the slope. So what's the cost of erosion? Topsoil is the most valuable soil, and it is the first loss to erosion. So topsoil is super valuable, especially because we take it out of new builds and we sell it off to other people, which eventually you need to bring that stuff back in. So crop yields are reduced, more commercial fertilizers are required. Gullies may make it impossible to use some fields, and rich bottomlands may be covered by much poor soils that have washed down from nearby hills. So a little bit more on cost. Excess plant nutrients pollute lakes and streams and cause excess growth of aquatic plants. Eutrophication may occur, a condition in which excess plant growth and decaying plants reduce oxygen levels, killing fish. Eroded soil collects in ditches, streams, rivers, lakes, and reservoirs, and dredging may be needed. So improper irrigation practices leading to salinization, which is the accumulation of soluble salts, alkalization, which is the accumulation of exchangeable sodium, and waterlogging. So growing crops without replacing plant nutrients and organic soil material, loss of soil, organic matter, and deteriorating soil structure. So I always say whenever you're planting any sort of crops, you need to switch out those crops year to year. That's why you see one year somebody might plant corn, next year somebody might plant soybeans. So polluted soil, chemicals, industrial waste, human waste, and improperly handled livestock waste, desertification, loss of productive plant cover due to overgrazing, deforestation, or other practices. If you've ever seen like any of the deserts here in North America, you'll notice that there's barely any plant life, some mostly just usually cactus, and those are even in rare locations, just because you don't have the proper soil to use and you're not getting the proper water. Soil compaction, which is caused by years of tillage with heavy machinery. So bottom line here, topsoil can be lost through erosion due to geological reasons or because of human activities. Soil can also be degraded in other ways, such as through improper irrigation practices, loss of plant nutrients, pollution, desertification, and soil compaction. So just make sure whenever you are working with your own crops that you're doing everything you can to prevent erosion, but it's not always preventable, but you can definitely bring materials back in to help restore that land. So that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact me down here in the landscape design classroom, and I appreciate your time, folks. Have a great day.